12 in the top 300, 10 in the top 200, 4 in the top 100. The final rendition of the Rivals 300 had been announced. Where do the Tennessee signees come in?
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday morning, everybody, and welcome into Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Cain, and we're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day, the number one sports podcasting network available. Today's episode is presented by the great people over at Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. A big shout out to Game Time. A lot to get into here today. Ward Wednesday. Josh Ward going to stop by the show in segment number 3. 5 years ago yesterday, Josh Heupel was hired to be Tennessee football's head coach. We're going to look back at some of the accomplishments and kind of put some things into context about where the program is now compared to where the program was that he inherited 5 years ago yesterday. That's coming up in segment number 2. The final Rivals 300 rankings have been announced. A lot of movement, some good, some bad. We'll get into the Tennessee signees and where Rivals has placed them in the final recruiting rankings of the 2026 cycles. All that and more right here on a Wednesday Locked On Vols Everydayers. Thanks so much for being here. Go check out the Everydayer Club, lockedonvols.supercast.com. $5 a month, ad-free audio, access to the Locked On group chat where we can chat in the Discord server, access to the merch store, all that and more for the Everydayer Club. $5 a month, lockedonvols.supercast.com. All right, so you look at the final Rivals 300 rankings, and that puts Tennessee up to number 8 in the country. Tennessee is now the 8th ranked team in the country per the Rivals 300, but you weigh that into the Rivals industry rankings, and that has Tennessee coming in at number 8 overall, moving up 3 spots following this update. You look at some of the big movers in the class. Of course, Tennessee has several commits. Tennessee has, I think it was 20 commits overall in this class, whatever it was, 18, 19. And this is the final recruiting ranking for this class of 2026. And there were some big movers. There were some guys who kind of stayed the same. There were some guys that slipped a couple spots down. There's one specifically that we'll get to here in a moment that moved up from unranked to inside the top 250, which is, really, really good. So you look at some of the biggest movers so far. Carter Gooden, defensive lineman, he's all the way up to number 74. He rose 75 spots in the rankings. Brayden Rouse is up to number 93. He rose 50 spots in the rankings. Zayden Anderson from Greenville, Tennessee, he's up to 104. He rose 62 spots in the rankings. You look at some of the biggest losers, and you got Tyreek King, wide receiver from Knoxville Catholic. He fell down to number 132, which is 46 spots. He tumbled in the rankings. TJ White, linebacker, he fell down to 133 overall, which, again, these are still really, really good. He lost 61 spots in the ranking. Hezekiah Harris down to 211 overall. He lost 63 spots in the rankings. Jamyan Theodore from Baylor School, I forgot to mention him in the biggest risers. He went from all the way unranked. He was considered the 110th best cornerback in the class, and he rises all the way up to 250 in the overall rankings. So he is clearly the biggest riser of the class, to go along with the likes of Zayden Anderson, Brayden Rouse, Carter Gooden, some of the more higher echelon prospects, in case you're wondering about. Tristen Keys stayed put at number 39 overall, so he did not rise, he did not fall. Faizon Brandon fell just a couple spots down to number 40th overall in the class, and he tumbled 6 spots down, which again is not that big of a movement. Joel Wyatt, standout in-state safety, he stayed put at number 124 overall in the rankings. In-state offensive tackle Kamari Blair and Gabriel Asenda. Gabriel Asenda from Baylor School, and Kamari Blair is from Clarksville. Those guys stayed the same in the rankings as well. They were 137 for Blair and 183 for Asenda. And again, I think these tackles are going to be really, really good. I mean, can they come in and play automatically? Can they come in and be starters this year? I don't think so. But, is Tennessee going to have to go and look 4 tackles on the offense side of the football in the next transfer portal cycle? You hope not, because you hope these guys can really step in and along with David Sanders and if it's Ori Williams or maybe if it's Jesse Perry, I mean they've got a lot of options there at tackle. I know that the staff really likes the tackle bodies in this class, that being Kamari Blair and Gabriel Asinda. So those guys kind of either stayed about the same or they didn't move at all. Again, Kamari Blair didn't move. He was at 137. Gabriel Asinda didn't move. He was at 183. Joel Wyatt didn't move. He was at 124. Faizon Brandon slipped from 33 down to 4 or 34 down to 40, so he slipped 6 spots. And Tristen Keys stayed put at number 39. Again, I mentioned Carter Gooden. He rose up 75 spots to number 74. Hezekiah Harris, he fell 63 spots down to 211. Zayden Anderson, 62 spots. He moved up to number 104. TJ White fell down 60 spots to over 60 spots to 133. I mentioned Brayden Rouse, Tyreek King, and then Jamyan Theodore. Again, he goes from the number 110 cornerback in the class all the way up to the 250th ranked prospect, which is pretty good. Pretty good for sure. So Tennessee has, again, 4 in the top 100 in the Rivals rankings. That's Tristen Keys at number 39 overall, Faizon Brandon at number 40 overall, Carter Gooden at number 74 overall, and Brayden Rouse at number 93 overall. You have 10 more, or I guess 6 more in the top 200, that being Zayden Anderson, 104 nationally, Joel Wyatt, 124 nationally, Tyreek King, 132 nationally, TJ White, 133 nationally, Kamari Blair, 137 nationally. There's the run of Vols there in the 130s. Gabriel Asinda, 183 nationally, and then 2 more that rank inside the top 300, that being Hezekiah Harris, 211, and Jamyan Theodore, 250. Other guys we did not mention who are still in this signing class, obviously, but do not come inside the Rivals 300. That is J.J. Finch, Jordan Carter, Zach Groves, Kedrick Golston, Javonte Smith, Darrell Rivers, Darion Albert, Joel Combe, Luke Thompson, C.J. Edwards, K.J. McClain, Quay Simmons, Luca Wolf, and Ed Baker, along with Logan Foley. And I think that's it. Yeah, Logan Foley. That's it right there. Some of these guys, again, this is just the Rivals 300. If you look at the Rivals industry, there's a couple other guys that are inside the top 300, if you will, that weren't mentioned here in this listing. Jordan Carter, according to the Rivals industry rankings, old habits die hard. Jordan Carter's 220. Zach Groves is 244. Darion Albert's 326. J.J. Finch is 480. Again, these outlets or these publications are weighted differently, right? On3 Rivals are the same thing now. So you got the Rivals rankings, you got the 247 rankings, you got the ESPN rankings. The ESPN's rankings are weighted the lightest, not even in the same ballpark as that as Rivals and 247 that do this for a living every single day. So anytime there's a rankings update, again, it's an impossible task, okay? It's a lose-lose task. You're always going to upset somebody. You're always going to upset some fan base. But there's always some risers. There's always some guys who fall. And ultimately there's a lot in that gray middle part. You just kind of have to look and see where the class is overall. And this class is number 8 in the country, which is pretty solid. That's a top 10 class. And again, I think Faizon Brandon's got a chance to be one of the better players overall in this cycle. We know about Tristen Keys. Those are Rivals industry ranking 5 stars. Rivals doesn't have, specifically inside the Rivals 300, Tennessee has no 5 stars. But if you look at the Rivals industry rankings, Tennessee has 2 5 stars, so that being Faizon Brandon and Tristen Keys. So, again, I don't know why you dropped Faizon Brandon. He missed a lot due to his senior year, but he came back and played in 4 or 5 games and led his team to another state title and played really, really good in that process. Tristen Keys, I don't know. Of course, he didn't drop in this one, but Tristen Keys, I don't know if you can find 6 wide receivers that are better than Tristen Keys, in my opinion. I don't know if I agree with that specifically. TJ White got dropped a lot, which is kind of weird to, TJ White is really, really good linebacker from the state of Mississippi. But again, everybody that dropped, you look at some of the good success stories like Jamyan Theodore that has risen close to the top, and so that's something to be celebrated as well. Again, recruiting rankings, there's something, right? It's what you do with them when you get on campus. It's how you develop when you get on campus. That's the most important thing, of course, in Tennessee sitting at 48% in the blue chip ratio. All right, when we come back, Josh Heupel, hired by Tennessee 5 years ago yesterday to be Tennessee's next head coach. Where was this program when he was hired? And where is this program now? That's coming up next when we return right here on your Wednesday Locked On Vols. Stay tuned.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. The WNBA has released its 2026 schedule featuring a 44-game regular season beginning on Friday, May 8th. The league's historic 30th season includes expansion teams Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo, with opening weekend highlights such as Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever hosting Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings, and a rematch of the 2025 finals between the Aces and the Mercury. In Unrivaled, Miami felt the breeze as Paige Beckers powered the breeze to a 75-68 win over the Lunar Owls, finishing with 28 points and 7 assists. She was joined by 20-year-old Dominique Malunga, who added 21 points, 8 rebounds, and became just the second player to ever dunk in an unrivaled game. In college hoops, South Carolina handed Vanderbilt its first loss of the season with a dominant 103-74 win. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
5 years ago yesterday, so 5 years ago on Tuesday, Tennessee made the move to hire Josh Heupel to be the next head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. Josh Heupel since has gone 45-20 leading the Volunteer program. Before taking over the program for Tennessee, the 5 seasons prior for Tennessee, ahead of Josh Heupel, the Volunteers win a combined 29-31. This is not one of those segments where I'm going to sit here and carry water. I think state-run media is the most hilarious thing and insult that people try to throw at people like me. When I was at the Sports Animal, I was state-run media. Currently I'm at VolQuest, I'm state-run media. People actually say me on this show that I'm state-run media, and it's just hilarious because, again, if you guys have any of those checks that I'm missing, please send them my way. But there's just no affiliation whatsoever. But it's always kind of funny. So my point is, this is not to sit here and carry water, if you say. This is the point of this segment, is to sit here and think about where Tennessee was and where Tennessee is. And don't get me wrong, I always use the apex reference, right? You never want to be at the apex. You never want to have reached the tip of the apex, okay? Because there's still room to grow. Clearly, 2025 was not the best season for Tennessee. 2024 was awesome, right? You got to the college football playoff, but when you got there, you quickly realized, oh boy, we got a ways to go, right? We got a ways to go. And I know that team that knocked you out and beat the crap out of you went on to win the national championship, Ohio State, which would not have made the field the year before, right? It got hot at the right time, and it went off and won those games, and that's, good for the Buckeyes. But even when you got to the CFP, you knew you had a ways to go. So this program's got a ways to go. I'm not trying to sit here and act like Tennessee has arrived or the Vols are back. I mean, the Vols are back and being in consideration for pretty much anything. Tennessee, year in and year out, is in consideration to be a CFP defender, okay? A contender, excuse me. And if you make the field of play, you got a chance to go win a natty, all right? But this is just kind of to show you where the program was, or to remind where the program was to where it is now. In the 5 years leading up to the Josh Heupel era, Tennessee was a combined 29-31. Jeremy Pruitt was Tennessee's head coach for 3 seasons. His combined record was 16-19, and technically, if you take out the NCAA sanctioned games, where Tennessee was essentially disqualified because playing illegal players and going back to Jeremy Pruitt paying recruits and all that, where Tennessee is still, despite Jeremy Pruitt allowed to coach again, Tennessee is still self-imposing bans and following the NCAA's direction. Which again, I don't know why you're doing that. If Jeremy Pruitt is allowed to coach again, it's just stupid if you ask me. But Jeremy Pruitt, 16-19, and if you take away those games the NCAA docked Tennessee, he was technically only 5-19. So his record at Tennessee, going down in the record books, technically 5 wins, 19 losses, if you take away those NCAA vacated wins, where he was 16-19. In SEC games, I don't have the NCAA docked wins there, but it was 10-16 was the overall record, and Jeremy Pruitt was 1-0 in bowl games while Tennessee's head coach. Of course, 2 years, didn't even make a bowl game. Butch Jones was Tennessee's head coach for 5 years. 34-27 was the final record, and there were some highs there. There was a couple of really good seasons for the time, right? 14-24, however, in SEC play, which was not good. He was, however, really good at motivating his team in bowl games. 3-0 in bowl games while Tennessee's head coach. Derek Dooley was here for 3 years. 15-21 was the combined record. Get a load of this. 4-19. 4-19 was the record in conference under Derek Dooley. Woof. Not good whatsoever. 0-1 in bowl games. Lane Kiffin, of course, here for that 1 year. 7-6, lost the Music City Bowl. And Phillip Fulmer, before all that change and all that misdirection and wandering in the wilderness and all that, Phillip Fulmer was here for 17 years, 152 wins, 52 losses. All right, won a national championship and was 8-7 in bowl games, won 2 SEC titles. Obviously, that was the staple of the time, and that's the program that Phillip Fulmer left to Lane Kiffin and so on and so forth. Josh Heupel, again, 45-20, 24-16 so far in SEC games, and 2-3 in bowl games. That's one of those losses in the bowl games, counting the CFP loss to Ohio State in 2024. So, just goes to show you, is this program where it needs to be? No. Is this program on a championship contending level? Well, in 2025, it wasn't. What do you do about it? One of Josh Heupel's biggest criticisms, I guess, from fans and media alike, was Josh Heupel can't make the tough decisions. Josh Heupel can't fire anybody. Well, Josh Heupel made some pretty big decisions this offseason. Fired Tim Banks, defensive coordinator, a year after the reason Tennessee was in the college football playoff was because of Tim Banks' defense. Fired Tim Banks, went out and hired Jim Knowles. And not only did you go out and hire a veteran, respected defensive coordinator, okay, you went out and got a defensive coordinator that was a part of the 4-2-5 transition 20 to 25 years ago, okay, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't really know that until earlier this week when I was doing some reading on that. Was a part of the revolution of a 4-2-5 defense, which is a nickel defense, okay, but playing nickel as a base defense, but also was one of the innovators in playing 3-high safety look. Not saying he was the first to do it, but one of the first guys to do it on a regular basis. So what gave you the most issues at times? What defensive look has given Tennessee's offense the most issues? Well, 3-high safeties, that's one. An odd front has given Tennessee tons of issues over the years. All right. How are you going to beat it? How about you learn from it every day in practice? How about you put that type of stress on opposing quarterbacks and go out and get somebody that runs that system, such as Jim Knowles, who did that at Penn State, Ohio State, and Oklahoma State here recently. I think it makes all the sense in the world. So Josh Heupel goes out and makes the change to defensive coordinator, and not only makes the change, but gets a defensive-minded guy and a system that has given his offensive system a lot of issues here in recent memory. You also go out and make a change at strength and conditioning coordinator, strength and conditioning coach, a guy that's been with you for quite some time. Kurt Schmidt was with him at UCF, came with him to Tennessee. He's been with him for 8 years, I believe, as a head coach. Nobody else has ran the strength and conditioning side of his program other than Kurt Schmidt under Josh Heupel until he did not retain Kurt Schmidt and he brought in Eric Owings from Indiana. And he hired his own nutritionist. And he was the strength and conditioning coach of the year. Big time hire, making him the highest paid strength and conditioning coach in America, $1.2 million. So Josh Heupel's made the tough calls. Inheriting a program that was hard to recruit to because not only were you facing NCAA violations, there was a lot of uncertainty at the time because you didn't know just how many infractions, level 1, 2, and 3, that you were going to be facing. Everybody was recruiting against you using that, but also you didn't know how the offense was going to translate into the Southeastern Conference. You didn't know how the defense was going to play off that offense for Tennessee and then other defenses across the league. Tennessee led the nation in scoring and total offense in 2022, led the SEC in total offense in 2025, made a playoff, been one of the fastest tempo teams in the country the last 5 years. And, oh, yeah, it's shown that you can evolve, slow things down, run the football. Oh, and running the football, he's ran for over 2,000 yards all 5 seasons, ran for over 2,500 in 4 of those 5 seasons. And shown that you can evolve as a coach and as a play caller on offense to let your defense carry the load and get you to a CFP. You did that in 2024. So the evolution of what Josh Heupel's done here at Tennessee, it's been really impressive. Based on what he took over in January of 2021 to where you are entering February or leaving January 2026. It's been really impressive. Are you done? No, you're not. 45-20 is a good record. Okay? 24-16 SEC games, that's not bad. College football playoff appearance, Orange Bowl victory, Citrus Bowl victory, all that's good. That's fantastic. Are you done yet? Is this where this program needs to be? No, it's not. So what's that next step for Josh Heupel? You always got to wonder what that next step is, and that's why you always got to pay attention in terms of your fandom and not, just my opinion, not settle, always want more, but also kind of remember where you were during the Pruitt years, during the Butch Jones years, during the Derek Dooley years, during the Lane Kiffin year. Tough sledding. And if you want to complain about Josh Heupel, by all means, complain about Josh Heupel. But we're losing our minds over an 8-4 campaign. Losing our minds over an 8-4 campaign when so many of those years after Fulmer and before Heupel, you would have given anything for an 8-4 campaign. Again, that is not the standard here, and I'm not trying to say it is the standard here, but context is key just to go and show what Heupel's done here and what still can be accomplished. 5 years ago yesterday, Josh Heupel was named the head coach at the University of Tennessee. He's already accomplished a lot. What else could be there on the table? I look forward to seeing here in the next season and hopefully the next few seasons to come. Josh Ward, what does he have to think about Tennessee basketball? The big win over Alabama last weekend, the Charles Bediako situation, all that and more. That's coming up next. We continue on here at your Locked On Balls Wednesday, right here on the show. Stay tuned. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast, without the hustle, without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, in the hands of the fans. I pulled up the Game Time app and picked a couple of the NBA games that I'd like to go to at some point this season and had tickets available within minutes. Love seeing the all-in price up front, no surprise fees at checkout. Being able to see the view from your seat before buying made the decision even easier. Zone deal stood out. Choose the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save a whole lot of money. Great last-minute options, too, with NBA tickets showing up at solid prices. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. That is promo code Locked On. Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time app today. And remember, it's GameTime.co, not GameTime.com. So big shout out to Game Time. Also want to give a shout out to FanDuel, the last call for the football right here on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one kickoff, one final chance to get in on the action of the NFL season before it officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone has been waiting for. This is why predictions can often turn into key plays. Stats can turn into key storylines, or key storylines can turn into key stats, mind you. And every snap feels so much bigger. It's the perfect way to cap the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff until the final whistle. If you're a new customer, just bet $5. Get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season's over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to go ahead and get started. That is FanDuel.com to get started today. Josh Ward, Ward Wednesdays. There's always a lot going on, but let's start with basketball. Nate Ament, career high 29 points, and he continues this hot streak he's been in, really dating back to the last 10 minutes or so of that Texas A&M game that went in double overtime. He's playing really well.
He really is, and he has to if this team is going to have long-term success this season. If the season is going to end in a positive way, or Tennessee's going to have positive results when it matters the most, Nate's going to play a big part in that. Rick Barnes has continued to back Nate publicly, has continued to encourage him in press conferences, and I'm sure behind the scenes, to continue to do what he's doing and to improve, and the results are showing. That doesn't mean every game is going to be great. That doesn't mean that he will not have some off nights. But we are seeing that Jacoby Gillespie doing what he's able to do, and Nate having more opportunities, getting more shots. Coming out of the Kentucky game, that was part of the conversation, needing to get him more shots. He took 7 in that game. Well, he did that. He took 20 against Alabama, and it made a huge difference. There are many reasons that Tennessee could succeed this season, but near the top, Nate Ament, playing well offensively, taking charge with the basketball and making things happen. He has as much ability as just about any player in the country. He's a part of a special freshman class, but the ability to score, the ability to get buckets, Nate is up there with the best.
What do you make of Rick Barnes' decision to put Bishop Boswell back in the game, with 2 fouls in the first half? Typically, that's something that he doesn't normally do. I understand that Troy Henderson was not available, so maybe your options were limited a little bit, but you did that with Jacoby Gillespie, and Gillespie's a different story. I recognize that against, I think it was Kentucky, and the game really got away from you. It's almost like you didn't want to make that mistake again.
Yeah, maybe Rick is thinking differently about that type situation. Maybe it was related to personnel that was or was not available. Part of it has to be trust in Bishop Boswell. He is still just in his second year in the program, but it's clear that this staff likes him, and I would again say trusts him out there on the floor to make good decisions, play the right way. I don't think that seeing Bishop out there with 2 fouls at that point in the game means that any player with 2 fouls will be able to stay in the game. I think it comes back to what they needed. They need Bishop Boswell out there on the floor because of what he understands on both ends of the floor, how to play defensively, how to be more assertive offensively when they need it. He's not going to be Jacoby Gillespie or Nate Ament in what we were talking about in terms of scoring, at least on a consistent basis, but making the right plays, making good decisions, and helping stabilize things on the floor. There was a lot of trust in the last couple of seasons with older guys that are now gone and have to be replaced, guys that Rick Barnes was talking about after the loss to Kentucky. One of the players that I think fits that profile of the past year's teams would be Bishop Boswell.
Look at this week. It's a very big week. Game got moved from was supposed to be last night to tonight here on a Wednesday in Athens against Georgia. Back home for a 2-game swing, 8:30 on Saturday against Auburn, and then welcoming Ole Miss on Tuesday night. Then you go to Rupp at Kentucky next Saturday night. I mean, it's a pretty big slate of games, and I'm not going to say it's going to define your season, but this next little run of 4 or 5 games, it's going to mean a lot for Tennessee.
Yeah, it will, and there's still a big opportunity here for Tennessee. The Vols are just outside the polls, but when you look at net ranking projections, if you look at KenPom where Tennessee is, the Vols are still in a really good position. This is an incredibly deep conference. I don't know if there's one elite team. That'll play out in March, I guess, to find out. But there are a bunch of really good teams, and Tennessee is among them. Tennessee is a team that's capable of going on a run here, winning a bunch of games that are going to matter when it's time for the tournament resume. But also, Tennessee could lose these games. That was shown in the home loss against Kentucky and the way Tennessee played at Florida. So Tennessee is looking for some consistency. This time a week ago, we were talking about the inconsistency and the issue there. So can Tennessee go on a bit of a run? A 2-0 week would be huge. I think you can say that any week in this conference, but a 2-0 week means a 3-game winning streak to head into the month of February. That would be a great way to finish out January, which we knew was going to be tough going in. So after the Kentucky loss, it was true that there was a long way to go, but there needed to be a sense of urgency. There's still a long way to go, but at some point you need to put something together. There's a real chance here. I think Tennessee's a better team than Georgia, but on the road, let's see. And Tennessee at home against Auburn, I like the Vols' chances there, but Auburn at Florida was a better team than we had seen in previous weeks. So that the environment on Saturday night is going to be, I think, incredible with Stephen Pearl coming in as the head coach and just a big-time matchup at the home arena. So big opportunity, as Derek Dooley would once have you believe, opportunity is now here for Rick Barnes' team.
As Austin Price said on the VolQuest podcast Tuesday, there's a lot of fans that will have somewhere in their heart for Bruce Pearl. There's some fans who always like Bruce Pearl. Nobody likes Stephen Pearl, so it should be a really, really good environment.
And right now, I think that goes both ways. Aside from, I'm sure there are some individual relationships that Stephen still has in Knoxville and around UT, but he's had some ill feelings toward Tennessee, and he's made that public as well. So that's okay. You know, it's unfortunate because he played at Tennessee, so it's not the preferred way, but he's the head coach at Auburn now. He's made his feelings known. Tennessee fans have as well. That makes for fun conversation and a potentially great game on Saturday night.
Speaking of people that have earned their spots at the position they're at right now, Charles Bediako back at Alabama. National storylines. You got a booster / a judge in Tuscaloosa that granted that TRO. The weather is apparently on the side of the Crimson Tide because it's extended 10 more days because they can't get together due to the weather. So you got Charles Bediako that's playing college basketball after spending parts of 3 seasons in the NBA G League. I understand a lot of Tennessee fans are trying to vote him into the G League All-Star game, which I think would be incredible cinema. So that please do that. What's your whole take on that situation? I mean, here's the thing. Yeah. It's not like you fault him because if he's allowed to do it, go do it. Whatever. It's the adults in the room. It's the fan / booster that allows this to happen. However, he made an absolute immediate impact on that basketball game the other day. Tennessee was able to overcome it, no doubt, but he had one of his best scoring games in college, this being his second stint. But he came in, rebounds, block shot, creating a fast break. I mean, he was a big part of that game. Tennessee overcame it, but what's your whole thoughts on allowing that to happen in Alabama, going forward if he's allowed to play?
Well, my initial response is I agree with what Rick Barnes said on Friday before the Alabama game, that once you enter college and then leave and forego your eligibility, you are giving up the rest of your eligibility. I don't think you should be able to return. I am curious to see if the law agrees. What will the court say here? This is, I'm in a way glad that this is happening so that we can get some answers. We have a lot of different cases going on. There is the case that has involved Diego Pavia. It affects Tennessee with Joey Aguilar trying to get another year of eligibility. I've been on record there. I think junior college, time spent in junior college should count against your eligibility. So it was unfortunate for Alberto Osuna when he was denied another year. For the discussion of the sport, of college sports, I was not in favor of him getting that.
But then again, I mean, like that's just and that's a fair point to have. But it's like, yeah. Can you get on the same page? Division II, he could play for some reason, but Division I, he couldn't play. Like that's just an example of how the NCAA is just so backwards. Like everybody get on the same page here. That made no sense. But anyway, continue.
Well, yeah, and I'm with you on that. At this point, I've stopped faulting the NCAA because I don't see any power at the hands of the NCAA. Alabama is a member institution. The NCAA has a rule. Well, Alabama just sued. So at this point, I don't trust the NCAA to do anything. So at some point, they've got to find some real leadership and get some real answers. And the NCAA, here's where the NCAA screwed up. They were way behind on what was clear to anybody who wanted to be honest about the situation, that college athletics were becoming professional athletics because of the amount of money that was involved. And finally, in court, it was decided these guys can make money. The NCAA had to know it was going to come. They weren't prepared for it. And now we have chaos that is called. But I'm not asking the NCAA to fix it. Somebody else is going to have to. So getting an answer here, because while it is very strange, and I'm against the idea of Charles Bediako leaving college, spending a few years in a full professional league, and then coming back to college, we see players go from the G League to a league in Europe to a league in Australia, back to America, and we don't blink an eye because they're going from one pro league to another. Is college different? We need a legal explanation there because it looks strange, but Charles Bediako playing in one league and then signing somewhere else and putting on another uniform, it happens. Right now, there's a chance that going from the G League to the NBL in Australia or the G League to college basketball might not be any different. One difference is you have to go to college at the same time. You have to take some classes, wink, wink. But we need to get some legal answers here. Otherwise, we're just going to keep running into these same stories. And it's great for content, great for discussion, great for arguments. I don't think it's great for the college athletic game.
Yeah, it's interesting, and there were a lot of good discussion. A lot of good people, commented on the show a couple of days ago on YouTube saying, "Well, Do you have an issue with Ethan Berg? He played 2 years in Israel, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's true. You're exactly right. And we've seen that. We've seen a lot of players.
That's part of the argument, yeah, that Bediako is going to make. So again, there's a difference in going to college, leaving, coming back versus Berg played pro, then went to college. But I don't know if the courts see a difference. We're going to find out.
Yeah, that's the big difference in my opinion. When you leave college, and he's the first to do it, and then try to come back, I think that's where
you can save me with, Bama needs a pro to help them out. Lots of teams have pros. Nate Ament, by the way, is a pro. He's just not eligible to go to the NBA yet. He's a pro. He's more of a pro than Charles Bediako is. But the way that Alabama has gone about it, I have a problem with that. And Greg Sankey, where are you? The presidents of these colleges, when their schools make these decisions, where are you? But I think we're getting our answer at this point.
Well, Greg Sankey currently is being stuffed in a locker by the Big Ten. I mean, he's had a horrendous stretch here the last couple of months. I mean, really since COVID, he's not really been a very good leader, in my opinion. At least he's come short of a lot of things that he wanted to accomplish. So we'll see how all that plays out.
Yep.
All right. Never a dull moment. No doubt about it. We'll continue the conversation next Wednesday on Word Wednesday. And you and VFL Jason Swain will continue these conversations. And Josh and Swain, 99.1 The Sports Animal, noon to 3 on The Sports Animal. Josh, as always, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
Good stuff. As always there from Josh Ward. We like to call it Ward Wednesday right here on the show every single Wednesday, Locked On Vols. And, of course, you can catch him and Jason Swain, VFL Jason Swain, on The Sports Animal, noon to 3 on the radio dial of 99.1. All right, fun show. 5 years ago yesterday, Josh Heupel was hired as Tennessee's head coach. The final Rivals 300 rankings for the class of 2026 were unveiled. It's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems. It's somewhere right in the middle, and I think this class overall, it's pretty solid for Tennessee, one of the better recruiting efforts that Josh Heupel and his staff have accomplished here at Tennessee. All right, what's coming up tomorrow? Well, Tennessee plays basketball late tonight. We'll continue to look at some transfer portal news as the week goes along. What's that next phase of the offseason? We'll start getting some baseball content as well. Got a lot happening right here on Locked On Vols starting tomorrow, Friday, next week, and more. This is Locked On Vols. Stay tuned.